Well, 20 years ago, Sharon Katzman survived a horrific car accident. She suffered a severe traumatic brain injury, and her life as she knew it was over. But from that injury, a new life emerged. Sharon, through determination and sheer grit, worked through her injury to receive a master's degree in communications, and she has chronicled her journey in this book. It's called Tearing Down the Wall. Sharon joins us this morning as part of our book authors series. Hello, Sharon. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Danielle.
What an incredible story. You're 23 years old. You're riding in the car with your boyfriend. What's your last memory before the accident?
Probably saying goodbye to our friends and just starting to walk down to the parking lot. I never remember actually even getting to the car and putting on my seatbelt or driving away. And my first memory after was about 3.5 weeks later in the hospital. So it was quite a gap that I have absolutely no memory whatsoever.
And one of the things you say in the book is the fact that you were wearing your seatbelt, you feel saved your life. Because
Yes.
if not, you would have just gone right through that windshield, and who knows what would have happened from that.
Well, I'm sure I would have been killed.
What were the extent of your injuries, and when did you realize how bad it was?
Of course, I had extensive internal injuries that were addressed immediately, and by the time I even regained my memory, the worst of that was past. I was out of ICU at that point. The extent of my injuries weren't known for actually quite a long time. A lot of it was through rehabilitation and just tested for all sorts of different things. So it took several months just for any professionals to really get a grip on what the extent of a brain, my particular brain injury. Every brain injury is different, and the impact of that brain injury is different. So that took a long time to assess, and even for me personally, I almost had to just feel my way through situations and just deal with it and get through it. And
here we are.
And here we
are. Traumatic brain injury. You're young. You're 23 years old. What was your lowest point, would you say? And how did you get through that?
I had a lot of low points. That was absolutely sure. And there was a lot of times that just getting through it was just one day at a time. But I always felt that no matter what the extent of my injuries or any complexity or subtleties of my injuries, whenever I focused and put the work into it, I could see even incremental improvements, and that would always motivate me to continue. Probably my lowest point was when I was told something just couldn't be done. And like that was it. There was that limitation, and no matter what I did, nothing could be done. That was an absolute low point.
In the book, you talk about going through rehabilitation, not being a victim. You don't even like that term. Victim is kind of out the window for you. You're a fighter, and you believe in moving forward and making the best of it, and not just surviving but thriving. You decide, and you say this in the book, to go back and get your master's degree. And here's what's interesting about this is you want to get your master's degree in communications, when for you, after suffering such a traumatic injury, communication was a huge problem for you.
Absolutely. And I've always felt throughout my rehabilitation and throughout my entire life, I've always wanted to work on my weaknesses. And although I had a lot of communication disorders and I had difficulty really interacting with people, I wanted to go back for communication initially just to work on my writing. But it was amazing, the overall improvement and that I was able to achieve.
And so what does getting the degree and also writing this book prove to you?
Well, it very much proved that I could overcome the rest of my disabilities. As I said, initially I wanted to just work on my writing, but it had an impact on my overall speech, my interactions, my overall presentation. It was a complete advanced rehabilitation program for me. The whole idea of the book initially was just being able to write one cohesive story, and that was certainly one of my disabilities. So I couldn't make sense from beginning to end, and just the idea of putting together a cohesive story of my own history was really tremendous. And it was, whenever I started something, I I was like, gee, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but I just, like I said before, a little bit at a time. And writing the book was my next step after the master's degree of, gee, I can do this. So it was a big deal for me to. And once I got it published, I was like, wow, yeah, this is great.
What a wonderful thing, and what a wonderful story. Sharon, thank you so much for coming by and sharing it with us. Very inspirational.
Thank you, Daniel, very much for having me here.
Absolutely. And once again, the book is called Tearing Down the Wall. For more information on Sharon or the book, please visit her website, outskirtspress.com/teardownwall.